So, being a Nintendo fan is getting really expensive at the moment. The Switch 2 costs more than people hoped. Accessories are pricey, and on top of that, we're entering the era of $80 video games. What are these companies thinking? Do they not know there is a limit to how much people can take before they ultimately just give up on gaming? Apparently, out of all the companies, I think Nintendo might be the one finally realizing that too. And that's the interesting part, because while most of the conversation lately has been doom and gloom about pricing, which I mean is well deserved, the gaming market right now is atrocious. But back to the point, the conversation around pricing has been pretty negative, though Nintendo has quietly started making some changes that honestly make the Switch 2 generation look a little more consumer friendly than people expected. Not cheap, definitely not cheap, but maybe slightly more reasonable. And for Nintendo, that's some well-deserved character development right there. Granted, this probably was a difficult decision. This generation is expensive. Nintendo charging $70 for games was already controversial enough. Then Mario Kart World came in with that $80 price tag now hanging over everything. And that's the part I'm nervous about. Because once one company successfully pushes prices higher, every publisher suddenly gets ideas. You just know some executive is sitting in a meeting right now saying, what if we made the Ultimate Founders Deluxe Edition plus Knuckles $99? And then everybody in the room applauds like that clown just solved world hunger. That's our industry now. Now, to be fair, there are real reasons prices are increasing. Manufacturing costs are up, hardware is more expensive, economics worldwide are just cooked, and currency conversion has been rough for Japanese companies for years. Those pressures are real, but Nintendo also absolutely has a history of charging premium prices simply because they know people will pay for them. I mean, this is the same company that looked at Welcome Tour and went, yeah, let's charge money for a tutorial system. I am still annoyed about that. Seriously, Astro's Playroom exists. Nintendo absolutely could have made that a free pack-in experience for the Switch 2, especially when consumers are already spending this much money just to get into the ecosystem. That decision still feels bizarre, but despite all that, Nintendo has quietly started changing something that actually matters a lot: pricing flexibility. Because for years, Nintendo basically treated every game like it deserved the exact same premium price tag. Huge new 3D Zelda, premium price. Small experimental release, also premium price. Remake of a 30-year-old game, bruh, just slap that premium price tag on that. And after a while, it started feeling kinda ridiculous. Not every game has the same amount of content, scale, or production value. But now, something genuinely seems different. Because Nintendo has started experimenting with tiered pricing in ways they really haven't before. And honestly, I know they know people are getting fed up. One of the biggest examples is the new digital versus physical pricing split. For the longest time, Nintendo priced digital and physical games exactly the same, which never really made sense from a consumer perspective. Digital copies obviously cost less to distribute. No cartridges, no shipping, no packaging. So Nintendo finally lowering digital prices a bit just feels logical. Yoshi and the Mysterious Book was one of the first major examples of this. And look, I understand the concern here because physical ownership does matter, especially now that preserving video games is becoming a bigger issue every year. But if consumers can save money through digital pricing, I'm not automatically gonna pretend that's a bad thing either. Especially because Nintendo being flexible about anything feels historically rare. Like somebody should archive this moment. But honestly, the more interesting change is Nintendo finally seeming willing to price games according to their actual scale. Because when Splatoon Raiders was revealed at a lower price point, that genuinely surprised me. Not because the game looks bad, it actually looks awesome. But because old Nintendo absolutely would have slapped full premium pricing on it immediately. Same thing with the Star Fox 64 remake. Again, lower price point, and that matters. Because Nintendo's old version of budget pricing was basically removing $10 and acting like they reinvented economics. Now, it actually feels like they're evaluating projects individually instead of forcing every release into the same pricing category. And honestly, I think backlash has something to do with that. The original Switch era was basically unstoppable for Nintendo. They could do almost no wrong commercially, but consumers now are way more price sensitive. People are more cautious with money. Families are more cautious with money. Everything is expensive now. Nintendo knows there's a limit to how far they can push things before people start tuning out. And honestly, retailer competition might accidentally help consumers too. Because Walmart and Amazon have apparently started lowering physical game prices to match Nintendo's cheaper digital pricing. And if that keeps happening, that's huge. Because one of the biggest fears with digital discounts was physical collectors getting punished forever. But now, retailers are competing harder. So suddenly, that cheaper digital game might also have a cheaper physical version if retailers keep adjusting prices. Which honestly creates way more pricing pressure across the market than I expected. And I think that's the bigger takeaway here. I don't think Nintendo suddenly became consumer friendly overnight. Let's calm down. This is still Nintendo, the company that charges premium prices for games old enough to legally rent a car. But I do think they're realizing there's a limit to how far they can push pricing before backlash becomes a real problem. That's probably a good thing, because not every game needs to cost $70 or $80. Some games can just be smaller and cheaper. That should not be revolutionary. It should have been normal years ago. So yeah, I still think Nintendo pricing is getting ridiculous in some areas. I still think $80 games are ludicrous. And I still think Welcome Tour should have been free. But I can't ignore that Nintendo finally seems to be loosening up a little. Cheaper digital pricing, more flexible pricing tiers, lower cost releases, retailers competing harder on physical games. For the first time in a while, it actually feels like there's some attempt to balance rising costs instead of endlessly pushing prices upward forever. Now, for the biggest question, is this cope? Maybe. But honestly, you see cope, I see hope. And in this economy, hope might genuinely be worth $10 off MSRP. Anyways, we'll see.